My name is Tricia Miller. I'm an admin director here at BHA, and I've had the best time working with Alicia on this project. She is a light and a force, which I'll get into a little bit more later. But thank you for coming to the Silent Mooring. We like to call it Watercolor Legacy of Leonard Anderson. With that, this is your Drawing Map to Black series. One of them, we have lectures throughout the year, so we thought we'd lecture on Leonard Anderson tonight as well. And that's brought to you by the Fossil Islands Historical Preservation Conservancy. So thank you to them. And they also helped and fund the framing of all the Leonard Anderson paintings you see in our exhibit. So thank you to them. Thank you. And the framing was really fun. That was my winter project here, and I'm an artist as well, so it was good to tap into that type of art throughout the winter. Especially that day was -24, and I'm like, I'm just gonna frame all day. I don't care what temperature it is. So that was great. And then thank you to Clayton Greaves. This collection was donated by him and his family, and this is what I'm told Leonard's most prized collection. So we're ever so grateful to have it in our building and preserved framing and whatnot forever. We'll frame more. We have 62 pieces. You see about 20, 25 out there. There's a few on loan. But more will be framed. We'll rotate them out and have this exhibit up for years to come. So Alicia, I met her and Andrea. They came about a year ago, and I did a few paintings and got to know each other, and then worked through the year to come to where we are now. So beautiful exhibit, but they're just the best. For those of you who don't know, Alicia has a really impressive resume. Her first chunk of years, 15 years as an elementary art teacher, and then this past 14 at the College of St. Benedict and St. John's, a professor of art. And then her doctoral research examines the factors that influence elementary art teacher retention, and then in recent years honored to be Minnesota's Higher Educator of the Year. So that's really cool. Over all of her roles, the driving motivations help communities of learners and meaningful connections through art, enriching their own lives and those of others. So as far as I'm concerned, what I'm learning from Leonard Anderson is the apple fell straight down from the tree. So he's just this wonderful. So thank you for being here and honoring him, and your passion is just bar none. So I introduced Dr. Alicia Peters. Thank you.
I tell you, what else didn't fall apart? Increase my hair. If you see pictures of him, you will see we have the exact hair color, white hair. I always, when people come up to me, I don't know if you get this also, people are like, oh, your hair's so beautiful. Like, what's the color of that? I say genetics. That Norwegian, right, Bob? Norwegian. Yes. So that also, very grateful for that also. I know that Tricia talked about this. I do want to start with the bland acknowledgement, talking about my family and making it real personal to me. And I have here that I acknowledge that this land, both today and when my Swedish and Norwegian ancestors arrived in the late 1800s, belongs to the Ojibwe Anishinaabe peoples of Kichigami, Lake Superior. The shoreline and islands remain home to the Red Cliff and Bad River bands of Lake Superior, Ojibwa, whose relationships with these waters and forests remain even with centuries of displacement and attempted erasure. My ancestors found work along this shoreline. Their livelihood was booth fishery. And the opportunities my family has ever since were made possible by this removal of Ojibwe communities. I acknowledge that my family benefited from this history. Because of this, I commit to and challenge all of us to listen and learn from Ojibwe voices, honoring treaty rights and supporting the sovereignty of the Red Cliff and Bad River bands, supporting Indigenous-led projects to protect the land and the water, and may this acknowledgement move beyond words to relationships and actions that support justice and respect for the original peoples of the Fossil Island region. And talked about this for a long time. I do want to say one thing. He said to me, he said, you know, we're the good, the bad, the ugly, right? And we have to acknowledge all those pieces. I have so much pride when I come to Bayfield, so much pride. I drive down and I thought, oh, there's my uncle's king, there's the house, but there's also pieces of it I need to own about my history also. And I think we take both, that's our humanity. I want to start with the overview of what I'm going to talk about today. I want to talk about his legacy here. His journey to become what we see here today, and his creative approach, his techniques, and inspiration that he had also. There's this picture was taken by my mother, and the palette that he's using is the one that's hanging out there right now. So I do want to give some gratitude. I went to the Madeline Island this morning, and I thought it was just such a beautiful, perfect way to start my day out there. And I met April Stone. She had baskets that she wove from the Bad River Tribal Nation. She was out there, and she had this quote. She said that when I first started making baskets, it was about the basket, the end, like the thing. And she said, but what I've learned is now when I make my basket, it's everything before that. And then the basket has a story then. This is kind of my basket today. When I thought about it, I thought, yes, they're going to have a video you can watch, but it was what I learned from growing up to now, and what this journey in this last couple of years of putting this show together has brought to my life is the story. We have this beautiful show where the story is what I experienced, like meeting this amazing human in the bed, Bob Nelson. Like he's part of my family now. So grateful. That's part of my story now. Getting to know Trish, getting to know all the great business owners in town and the communities. And that has been and getting to talk to my relatives more deeply and connecting with them. It is the journey. It's not the final thing. My mother was a big role in that, right? She made sure every time, I'm going to try and leave her not to. So I stepped up. Anybody else ever feel like that sometimes? Yeah. So we got to brace that, right? Brace emotion, right moment. Every time we lived in Indiana for a while, so we're going to see Uncle Len. We're going to see Uncle Len. We got to see Uncle Len. We're going to spend time with Uncle Ed. It was my whole life. Your artist uncle. Your uncle was the artist. Oh, it was my whole life. But if it wasn't for her taking that time for me to see him and get to know him, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing right now and be able to look at his work and understand who he is. I'm so grateful for that. I talked about my hair, right? That's why our names also give us a little bit of insight of who we are. I know we got the Wolves here, we got the Hayes here, we got the Andersons here, we got the McIsaacs here, all part of that big family. Our names say something about who we are. My middle name is Lorraine, after I grew up, one of the 9 children. My daughter's name is Lydia, after my great aunt Lydia. Her last name is mine, Peters. I kept my father's name after he passed away. I have a lot of pride because my daughter and I are the last ones of that generation. He was an only child. Our names tell us something, just as generational knowledge. And that's what I gained more than anything through this. And I hope my nephew, his girlfriend, my future son-in-law, and my daughter will take this knowledge and continue it. And I hope the people here today will tell their children about it, because I know Bio says too, please write on the back of the pictures, right? Just tell us, right? So we know. So this knowledge it can't stop today. It needs to continue. He went to my senior show when I was graduating from art school. Right there, I'm like, who let me wear that? You did. Yeah, you not leave, Rich. You did not do that. But there he is with me at my senior art show. He always wore a little bit of red. My mom, I'd say, Mom, it's picture day. What should I wear? She'd say, a little bit of red. Uncle Len would say, it's the best thing to photograph. Wear a little red. So I love Isis wore his little red to my show. At my senior show, he came, and that was 96. 96. He was there. Okay, so welcome to this senior show. I'm glad I got to be a part of it because he never had a show. So this is his show. A little bit of a timeline here of his life. My Uncle Kim and I go back and forth a little bit on some numbers. I don't know how exact they are, but we've looked at some different census things, and we've kind of come to this. He was in Bayfield, born in Bayfield, went to Duluth, then to World War II, and I'll talk more about this journey as we move through here. Detroit, and then back to Duluth, and then spent the last 3 years of his life in Wisconsin. Okay, so one thing about him, his siblings meant everything to him. They were all so close, every single one of them. I love looking at pictures with their arms around each other. And you know, I start to think about other artists, you know, I'm an art teacher, so I always get to go in different places. And I think, oh, Van Gogh had his brother. That was so wonderful. Like, he had his siblings. They were so close. Helen here and Leah in the end, so close. We saw them together. I can barely tell them apart in the pictures. Lydia was the oldest of the whole crew. She took care of everybody. She remembers running down the hill of Penny to get the doctor because Grandma McCullough was having another baby, right? So there she ran up the hill. And I just heard a story last night that when great-grandpa John Anderson, or Captain John Anderson, he was a fish captain on the fish boat here for Booth, he would come home and go, "Who are you? Which one are you now?" Joking, of course. He was joking because I found getting to know him, he was a funny guy and really nice guy. Obviously, Len next to Lydia, they were very close also, but Lorraine is my grandmother. They were only a couple years apart in age, I think a couple years apart. And then he was also very close with Howard and Inez. You see them just chumming along all the time. In pictures with Len and Howard, Len never smiles a figure that he is with Howard. It's beautiful. But this is the large family of 9 here, all born up on the hill here in one of the sister houses. There's 4 sister houses. Someone shared, I think 3 or 4. I think 3. Yeah. Okay, so there are 3. Okay, 3 sister houses, and I still didn't figure out which one exactly it was, but they all 9 were those small houses. They were the first people, the Booth Fishery Group, I think is what the houses were made for. They were first ones to have electricity. It was all, you know, that first for them. So Bayfield beginnings, I talked about this here. He was born November 20th, 1913. Here was foundational in his inspiration for what he had. His experience here on the islands with the people of the islands. He was right here. This is the little guy at the end. That's Lennox, cute with his hair. And then that's Lorraine, my grandmother. They were very close. And then I have Mel or Rudy? Mel and Rudy. And it's Grandma McCall. So these foundational things, he was, John Anderson was the ship captain from Sweden. And Charlie Benson was also a fish captain here. The Benson only might have seen it up there. He was my great uncle. He was Len's uncle. Charlie Benson. And then over here, the Tollefson sisters, Fredrika and McCullough were sisters from Norway. And Fredrika married Charlie, McCullough married John, Andrea married a Walgren and moved to, I think they would live in California. Where'd Jory get there? Yeah. But these relationships were foundational for him. He spent so much time at the Benson's fish camp. Picture after picture after picture of the Benson's fish camps, hanging out with the Nelson family out there also, and just spending all day with getting whitefish and playing. And they say his name, his initials are carved in so many trees around South Schlitt and Rocky, and catching agates and drawing in the sand. So there's so many pictures of him during that time. He loved it, and his wife came back almost every summer to be here and bring family and all that. In the middle, many of you know this picture, right? Some of you know them. Coolidge came to Devil's Island for a picture when he was running for president, or yes? and Charlie Benson was in charge of kind of his tour out there. And this is where I can use the pointers, Trish. There we go.
Yes.
Adding on these. Okay, stress. Okay, this is Len and Howard on the end here. So they got to be in that picture too. So foundational things for our family and inspiration for many and almost all the paintings you see out there. Then in 1921, they moved to Duluth. Some of you may know during that time, historically, there was less fish to catch. And we overfished that area. There wasn't work at the time, so they're like, he took all 9 of them and moved to Duluth. But I think John was a boiler room in the area, and Uncle Len started book school at that time. He began early, drawing, painting, printmaking, photography. He loved it. And he graduated in 1913, and then worked as a sign painter for a while in Duluth. His strength, he really found a lot of strength in his art, and I see that as a teacher so much. When people have the opportunity to make and experience something, like how that just brings something beautiful out in people and gives them a purpose and identity, and it really helped with them. He had pretty bad acne on his face as a young boy, and he ended up having some pretty deep pock marks on his face. He was really insecure about that, and that really introverted him and quieted him quite a bit. But then in school, people were like, "Oh, the great artist. You're going to be such a great artist," and that really gave him that self-confidence and gave him identity and really some strength. So his piece here, I have his yearbook out there. He drew Denfield. He was part of the art yearbook there. And then I love this. This was from a scrapbook. It's at the beginning of my art career. Right here, he was 13, 14, I think, here. And he would enter the Fair Play Club every week. There'd be a different drawing in there that he'd enter. And there's his scrapbooks in there that have him in it too. So he really, I love that, Hoover, not Smith. A lot of history in the scrapbook out there. So he served in World War II. He was on a fueling ship. You can see his 2 things where he crossed the equator at those times. Served on a fuel boat. My Uncle Kim has shared that he didn't like talking about it much about it. It was, I think, a lot of our vets. I know a lot of our vets experience a little trauma what did he see and hear and are around. He also experienced that. And he found a lot of peace by that lake, a lot of peace, a lot of calm being here. So then he came back and he went to school in Detroit it was the College of Art and Design in Detroit. He got an art degree there, and then he started working at J. Walter Thompson. It's one of the largest advertising firms in the United States. Kind of like y'all picture Mad Men if everybody's watched that. That's what he did. That was like Mad Men, right? The J. Walter Thompson. Biggest accounts he had was Ford and Kodak. He did very well. He did very well with his work, and he talented. And that was the type when you hand drew every single line, every single text. Everything was hand drawn. And I know mine with him has a lot of the sketches, so we're hoping to have it. See that. He was there till 1975. He retired from 75 from J. Walter Thompson, but he loved Thunderbirds. Loved a Thunderbird, right? So, and because working for Ford, I think it was somewhat of a gift in a way. The Thunderbirds, a little bit, right? Could have been a little gift, like
real good price.
Yeah, or a real good price, right? Loved the Thunderbird. So he would come every summer, a different one. Everybody would be so excited to run outside and see his car. What is Len driving today? And this is out from the Benson's house, so from the hill, 7th right there. And there we have our family just having a beer and a cigarette, leaning all over the car. Just chatting, just doing that, right? And I got my grandmother Lorraine. There's Inez. Lydia's leaving in there. And I think Jim, you might be back there, maybe. Well, I think Jim's back there. There's a larger part. There's more of this picture of the Benson family hanging out. I think one of these may be a Benson. It's Fred, I think, here with the hat up, maybe. So yeah, so the car, we were so excited to see what car is he driving this year. And then when he retired from working in 1975, he went back to Duluth. And he said, I need a house, I need a place that I can see that lake. It's all I care. I want to be able to see it when I look out my window. So he came and he bought this place in Duluth. Beautiful view of the lake. Beautiful view. And he was around family. You have Susan and, everybody lived up there. Kim, everybody was there for him, right? Every Linda and Superior, they were all around him. His whole family, Baptist and Hines and Lydia, Art, they were all there. So he had a view and he had family. He was here. During the times of 1956, 50 to 1990, he created his most paintings during that time. And that was the majority of his retirement was painting. So he'd revisit his photos and paint. Okay, this is where we get into a little bit about his art. His making of his art, what he was thinking. So up here, they knew the assignment, this crew here. They knew what they needed to do to get in one of Uncle Len's paintings. They knew what to do in order to get into one of Uncle Len's pictures. Who do you think knew the assignment? The ones to the right. That's my mother, and that's Kim. There they are, right there in the red, right there in the red. But that is, Joni, right? Joni there and Terry. Yeah, so they did the right, but they knew, we know Len will photograph us. He photographed you a lot that day. I have lots of pictures of you in that red shirt. Yes, he knew. But I'll tell you what, Auntie Lydia knew the assignment better than anyone. Always had a little touch of red on. For furls, some there, maybe a scarf around her neck, a shirt, pair of pants, shoes, always. In every picture, it's like, there's a little red, there's a little red, there's a little red. She knew the assignment better than anyone. Look at that fluffy picture. Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. So the photography, most of the time, someone just said today, he always had a camera with him. Always had a camera with him. Makes me think of Andy Warhol. That's what he did. Picture all the time, but he took pictures all the time. I have hundreds and hundreds of slide carousels with his photographs on them. It's a photograph he took up there of the shack out on Willis Island, and then he drew it. So he'd take a picture and then he'd study it and draw it. And sometimes he would draw and paint outside, but most of the time he used his photographs as references. I tried to find as many as I could to go next to the pieces. I know there's more somewhere. He would sketch from them. He would also do value scales with them where he takes them and goes from dark to light. He'd really study how the light happens in the picture. He was brilliant at light and shadow. Brilliant. That is something that is so hard to do, the AV painters, that is hard to do what he did with shadow and light. Did a lot of his photographs, the show was called Silent Warring, and I tried really hard to stay away from the word quiet, because he was also did things that were very amazing and loud. So I tried not to use quiet for him. He was contemplative. He was thinking and figuring things out and looking through the lens and looking at the lines and the compositions. He was thinking, looking. Quiet. His paintings aren't fine. I don't see that. He was introverted. We called the show Silent Mooring because most of his paintings and pictures are boats that are docked, boats that are anchored, boats that are on shore. And I think that in my art mind, I think it's a symbol for where he was when he was at the lake. He was anchored. He was docked. He was still when he was here, or when he was in Duluth finally. Traveled a lot. The majority of his paintings, like I said, were done during that time. He worked in Paris for a while. They sent him there, go work in Paris. He traveled all over during that time. This is when it was fiction from Norway. And I want to talk about his technique. Bob was with me when they pulled this picture out of the box. I lost my mind with this one. Absolutely. As someone that looks at art, talks about art, sees art, around art people all the time, this one was really startling. I think I started crying. They all just had this emotion when Saxid rarely did inside of spaces. Rarely. I don't know many. If anyone has an inside picture, let me know, because this showed up this is inside the Benson cabin on the fish camp on Rocky. It's the porch up the front of it. Reflection shadow in here, he was brilliant. There, if you could get the red dial again here for you. Okay, so we got shadow coming in the door. Oh my gosh, so there's shadow here on the side of this house. We know where the light's coming right now. This fabric here, the line that comes down to show us the lighter side and the darker side. Those of you that paint or draw, you're losing your mind like I did. And then even like there, the broom has a shadow. And then I go out here. Oh my gosh, so we got this, we got the trees. And then here they got the windows reflecting on the white. That's the vase reflection. On every piece of wood, there's light and dark. What? I'm totally honest. This here, the lines on this and over the plate, and then the lighter top with the darker on the side. Brilliant. And when you try to draw in perspective, it is a real cerebral activity. Like you have to really, it's mathematical. It's not just throw the, you gotta really be precise and thoughtful about it and meditate him. And that's what this described his work. And when you go through again, hopefully before you check it again, you will see that detail of light and shadow I've never seen. It is, and with watercolor. Watercolor is a transparent medium. You can see through it. You make a mark. You can't cover up that mark like you can with acrylic and oil. I can't believe I screwed that up. Oil, you're not with watercolor. It shows your mistakes at every letter, right? It is hard. It is hard to do a very thoughtful process. You have to think about every step. Tension, case storytelling, record of time, weather, relationship. We know time. We know what the day feels like up at Rocky by looking this. We know what time of day it is when Rocky looking at this. We know maybe what year it was by the colors and the patterns on the table, right? That's probably after the 70s, because I think they had something flowery like that in the 70s, right? But Bayfield, this collection, Bayfield was really important to him. It was a special place. Someone tried to purchase, in our family, Cheryl, wanted to purchase one of his pieces. He said, can't afford it. Not those. Not those. So he never had a formal art show. Never did. Because of his introvert and also insecurity. Why would you want to buy it? Wait, why would you want it? We were just telling stories about pitting his paintings, and he'd say, oh, well, I don't think they really want. And when we have one, those of us that have one, we're like, I got a lent. And it's just, but not many got Bayfield's ones. This was a really special place for him. These are the ones he chose to hang in his home. I have a slideshow. I will run you for some time, of those pictures of the ones that were in his home. These were the ones that you have here were in his home. They were the ones hanging on the wall in his living room. They were the ones these are his choice, his paintings. When he went to the nursing home in 97, these are the paintings you packed out. Some of these paintings, right? These are the ones he's like, I'm taking these with me, right? Mm-hmm. These are the ones that were his. This makes the show very special because this is the artist's collection. That's what makes this so beautiful. It's not mine. Mine was very different, but that's mine. We have winter seas, things like that. This is different. This was his. Betty Lou Graves was his niece. When he was working at J. Walter Thompson, he lived with Rudy, his brother, in the basement of their home his entire career. with his family. So Betty Lou was part of his family too during that time. So 1956 to 75, that was his family there. That was close to him again, a brother took him in. And then when she passed away, Clayton got the pieces. And Clayton then, I found out from somebody, was bringing them here to donate them. And that was the best thing I could have heard in years. And that's why I jumped head first into this, because this is where they need to be. Every time I walked in this town, I'm like, oh, it looks like Glenn's painting. I'm walking through. People need to see these paintings. I'm so glad they're here for everybody to see them. That downtown there. I just art, because he didn't talk a lot, thought a lot, paint a lot, but his art tells us so many things. There's a standard in art, I'm not going to go to it, that says humans make art. Humans make art. That's us that we want to teach our kindergarten. That's why it's in Minnesota. We want kids to humans make art. These are of our humanity. These tell us who was there at the time, who wasn't there at the time, what time of year it was. We know what the economy was like. We knew we could see what businesses here. We could see what businesses are not here. We see history. Humans make art. And that's what's so beautiful about it. It holds our time still. And we get to see what it was through his eyes, through his silence we saw. He left us his personal collection, his seniors. I'm so glad you got to be here for it. And now you all get to hear him and listen to him, because he didn't tell anybody. It's been really tough these last 2 years trying to find as much possible about him. I'm still searching. But it's a bit of blue culture. It's about his spirit, I believe, is here. I believe it's in the lake. Every time I see a lake, I think of his pictures and his paintings. It's where his spirit is in my spirit. It's here. And I have a lot of people I want to thank for a moment, because they're amazing humans. I don't believe this. I work on a lot of committees, a lot of nonprofits where I am, and I know it takes a whole village of people to get these things. Like the Apostle Line historic preservation to the framing is invaluable. Like, these are the Apostle Islands. This is how people know the beauty of these islands. This is how people know to protect it and see them. Clayton isn't here, but thank you, Click, for bringing him here. Thank you so much. Thank you. The Heritage Center for the Healed Heritage is just lovely. Thank you for caring for the work and including me and allowing me to insert myself. Trisha, thank you very much. And what do I say, Bob? Everything. I love you, Bob. I just seriously, thank you, Bob. This has been the biggest part of this journey that I've loved so much, is having you on my own. So thank you for your care and heart in this too. Marty and Marilyn. I know, Marty and Marilyn. Felix. What's that?
Oh, they're sick. Yep. I'm so around.
And Tony for even the tech work, and my sister for helping me come here and just letting me drag her along, my little sister. You know how we do that? Like, you're coming with me. We're doing this, and you're going to be a part of it. So, okay. So thank you. Thank you for that. My mom, for continuing to make sure that I knew the stories. You know the stories because of my mom and my Uncle Kim. These are my stories. Thank you. And Linda for donating a couple pieces for while she shows up from her collection too. So thank you all. And there are lots of people here that are direct, like next generation Len, right? Then we got second generation, third generation, maybe fourth generation Len. So we have a few generations here that can tell stories too. So feel free to ask us about telling this story. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So you teach art, correct? Yes. Do you bring Leonard into your classroom? Mm-hmm. And how do you do that?
I teach the majority of the population I teach Anybody elementary educators here? Anybody in their lifetime an elementary teacher? Okay. Right? I taught you all how to teach art. If you ever had a class of it, that's why I teach elementary teachers how to teach art in their classroom. Minnesota, I know we're in Wisconsin. Minnesota has this wonderful thing where art is required for all kids, no matter what's a mandate. They have to have it. So if they don't have someone like me teaching the kids, elementary teachers in their classrooms have to teach it. They have to teach. So I teach them things because many of them don't have any art experience after high school, middle school. Then they choose band or choir or something. They stop doing middle art, so they come in really scared. So I love bringing in the paintings of the water and images of that. And we talk about how to blend watercolor. And I talk about my history, my story with it a lot. And they are more inspired that having that connection to it. So I bring in these paintings when I teach watercolor. Also teach a class on immersing yourself in cultures and communities that are in the classrooms. And I start with the picture of McCullough and John Anderson. And I said, learning about my background and heritage only makes me appreciate everybody else's so much more. And I love learning about other cultures because so many times my students come in and say, why are we learning about this and not this? I said, because we're learning about this doesn't take away from yours. Like explore yours. And I really make sure they do. And I talk about showing pictures that he took of my family and knowing that how that has enriched my life. So I do bring him in a lot. Oh, and also, I forgot about this one. I have all his lettering, folks. Calligraphy, all his lettering. Probably a stack this big of all his lettering books he have used at J. Walter Thompson. And when he display, when I do calligraphy with my students, I bring it out and share with them that this is my great uncle's calligraphy books. And I will bring them next year for doing calligraphy too. That time. So I could use them a lot.
You see a change in his art from his earliest paintings to the later ones, and in what way?
So maybe you all found it. Definitely in his technique, for sure. Like his earlier paintings, I would say you could see he didn't have some of the knowledge he gained from college in the technical areas. Like some of the people I know that were earlier, he was very good at drawing. But after he went to school, I could see he got that training a little bit more, especially in values. He has a sketchbook that I ever heard, like just value after value after day. You can go to art school and you get our art major. Yeah, like the abusive nature of color theory. Like that's what his books have been. It's just light, dark. So I definitely see that change. The real focus on those areas really came up. These are 80s, 80s, and 90s, a lot of these pieces.
Because you kind of wonder if he was in advertising all those years, I would guess that'd be a pretty tight, precise drawing, and yet it doesn't come across that way when...
Tight and precise.
Well, precise, but...
I like what you said, because he always dressed perfect. Tight and precise is a great way to describe it. Like just dialed in, like the button, the coat, pants, the shoes. I mean, the way he'd hold a cigar. Like it was tight and precise. But you think like, I can see like wanting to just like, we're going to Jackson Pollock this thing, right? I need that. But no, I think that was who he was. Tight, precise. Yeah, but like, that's another word.
Did you get to paint with him when you were a child?
I did not paint with him. No, he didn't paint a lot of round bucks. No, I think it's the insecurity, maybe. He didn't, that picture Mom took, that was probably a rare moment that you took of him painting. I don't know if you all got to see him paint. No? Well, then, the day you took that picture of him painting, you got to see. How about you, Bob? Did you see him painting?
Well, he loved to do with people.
They were taking the pictures, but what he would do then is he'd go back and quietly, where he was trying not to go and really go deeply into the details and sketch it. And yeah, I don't think he wanted to mess around with you. And almost all of us have sketches that he did of us. Like we have like drawings he did of us too.
There's one interesting thing when your mom and I were packing up to move from Duluth to Milwaukee. When we were packing up his studio, we went down there and he had hundreds and hundreds of canvases. They were all turned facing the wall.
Stacked like this.
Stacked.
I don't know if y'all heard that. When they were packing from up to move, all the canvases were stacked facing the wall. Like just file, just, yeah. Okay.
You never married?
Never married, never had children. You know, like I was counting up our bloodline from the Anderson as doing research. Now you think about researching everything and male stop doing, but that I started looking at all the siblings that were born, all of them got married, and then how many had kids. On average, the Anderson family had 1.65 children. There wasn't a lot, over 9 siblings. When you think about that, that's crazy. There's not that big. I know that artist side of us, I think we got stuff to do. We're busy, right? So I want to do, right? And then I have one child, he just, we joke, the Clemenson side of my family, we think there's a little bit of pretty heavy mental illness going on in That's what we think, but who knows? Not a big family. No, never married, never had children. And there was a few of them in the family, like Ken, never had children. Could be those are another 1, 2. The Hommies have the most. And then your fam, Howard had the most. Yeah, 4. Yeah. 3, and then but Licky, I would have been 2, and then you lost at 5. But people, Roger hoped at that. But yeah, never married, never had children. I feel really honored to do this then. Enjoy the show a little bit more. Yeah.